please spend 5 to 10 minutes. Just talk a little bit of your personal entrepreneur journey and a little bit of your topic. And raise the game if you want.
All right. Welcome everyone. It is my pleasure, an honor to really truly be here. Thank you to Deborah, of course, and the Youth Village for making the time to put on this event and to have everyone here, especially to see so many wonderful, beautiful people of color here. It's truly a beautiful thing to see. My name is Donaldson. I'm the founder and CEO of a company called Pontoon Analytics Incorporated. We make AI smart sensors for the commercial trucking industry. And then, little facts, I had a short stint as a commercial truck driver between jobs. And that was at the end of the dot-com crash when I was working for Norton Networks in Canada, Ontario, in the Development and Research Center. Wow, where do I begin? If you look at my credentials on paper and everything I've done, it's really, really, really long. But I always used to think, I've done so many different things. Will that ever pay off for me? How will I ever turn this into something that I can truly call my own? And it used to frustrate me a lot because I was good at many things, but I always wondered, am I good at one thing? And lo and behold, here I am today in front of all of you as a founder, and yes, it's a very hard job, but all of these things have come together. So, I've done a triathlon, I've done marathons.
Wow.
I have to learn how to swim to do the triathlon.
Wow.
And it took 2 years to get to my first triathlon. And the one thing I've learned is that respect the process, not the prize. The process is what gets you anywhere in life. As long as you trust in it, you invest in it, and you respect it. Because it takes a long time, a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance to get where you want to go or to get what you want. And that's called delayed gratification. So yes, I used to be a commercial truck driver for about 3.5 years. And I got a job in the banking sector back in tech, back in IT. And even when I got that job for the first year, I still drove a truck once every 4 weeks because it was shift work. That's it. Why not? Right? So I kept driving. And my employer did, and they really didn't care. But it was my time because I already worked and I got the week off. And I never had an incident as a driver. I was always safe, I had good training, but I had a different mindset than everybody else. Because I had education, because I cared about my work, because I saw things differently than other people did, I never had those kind of issues that other drivers had. But it opened my eyes to a very different world. I remember one day the driver trainer would call me in and he used to call everybody, you have to come in for the driver's meeting. I'm like, why? Just send me an email. Just tell me. But he said, you have to come in. I'm like, why? I explained to you, you have to come in. I'm like, okay. So one day after the driver's meeting, he took me aside and said, you have to know something. There is a very high illiteracy rate in this business. And I said, what? I felt so bad. I felt horrible. But it changed how I perceived the business and the industry and people working very hard, men and women, to make a living, right here in Canada. And I had a different point of view from that point on, because when I was growing up, my mother always said to me, reading maketh a full man. And I loved to read. I was a voracious reader. I would devour books of all kinds, just for pleasure. And of course, when you're doing tech, you have to read a lot of technical manuals and instructions, and it's boring, it's dry. But when I get the chance to relish in a good novel or a book, oh boy, that's like almost heaven to me. So when the driver trainer said that to me, and my mother's words came back that reading made a full man, that's really what I always remember that experience. So from there, I got out of trucking and worked in IT. I was all self-taught. I bought systems, I used to build them in my bedroom, in my home office, and I would just download, unfortunately, part of the software, but I have to learn it. So I spent a day, today we're going to learn Adobe Photoshop. Today we're going to learn this. And that's what I did. I just sat down and invested my time, and then I turned it into knowledge. And that knowledge got me a job. And I started making really good money in tech without a piece of paper. Lo and behold, 20 years later, degree in business technology management, and a minor in Chinese studies. Yes, I can speak and communicate in fluent Mandarin Chinese.
Wow.
Very, very hard. Okay? Very hard. Day in, day out, every day. And I even driving here, I listen to Chinese Mandarin songs. I'm not gonna but I started my Chinese language journey 10 years ago because it was all people. And ever since I was very little, I always was interested in East Asian culture. Whether it's Indian or Asian, it was just beautiful to me. I learned Kung Fu, I learned all these things. My mother would always say, "You are the Chinese son that I never had." because I was just like that. And my Chinese was better than some of the Chinese kids. Went to Chinese school on the weekends. But what did I learn in studying another culture's language and everything? Is that we all want the same things out of life. We all want prosperity, opportunity, love, caring, compassion. We want to be treated fairly. Every single one of us, black, white, Chinese, Indians, whatever you are, the human experience is very, very similar. So studying Chinese taught me that we all want the same things out of life. And I think it's really great to see so many people here of color coming together who want the same things too. And it takes a lot of patience, perseverance, a lot of, sometimes am I being the best version of myself I can be so I can be that to other people as a mentor. I've been mentoring for over 15 years. I've mentored new immigrants for almost 10 years, trying to help them get the Canadian experience, preparing for interviews, their resumes, and things like that. And I also mentored through the Society of Automotive Engineers, which I'm a member as well. And mentorship is extremely valuable because I am here today because people took the time out of their day to show me something, to teach me something, to tell me something. And I can probably count 8 fingers on my hand of people who sat down with me where it had a course-correcting trajectory to where I am today. I can literally remember those conversations. So mentorship and building your network is extremely important to help you get where you want to go because nobody's a self-made anything. I'm not a self-made man. I've had so many people invest in me, support me from elementary school to middle school to high school. When you're like failing, I just kept going because those people believed in me to keep on going. So I'm going to end it at that because I've heard some really amazing, incredible things here today by the earlier panel, and it's really hard to top that going down. So thank you very much.
We were just saying that we're organized by Ireland. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today, and tremendous thank you to Big Village for bringing us all together. I was saying earlier that I'm learning so much, and I'm so grateful, and deeply thinking. And even as I'm here, you probably see me just scribbling notes. Right? So truly thank you to you all. Quick context on my background, and then a couple of thoughts, and then we'll continue. So today my background is in financial services. So I'm a co-founder in a business that helps Africans build generational wealth. I mean the whole gambit from we educate you, so we have like a bunch of incredible online learning, and then we invest for you. So we have a very easy to use experience where you can put your money in and have it grow and compound without you having to do a lot more work for it. We believe that you work hard at your job. We believe that you work hard at your job, so now your money should work hard for you. And make that possible. Right? Prior to this, I worked in management consulting, so I worked for a firm called McKinsey. It's a global consulting firm, and while there, I was in charge of leading teams and serving some of the top 10 banks globally. So got a bunch of financial services exposure, and prior to that, I've been some of the best schools in the world, and like I'm well educated and worked in good places, and now I'm here. That's the shortcut. Yeah, exactly. And I'd love to pivot to like some of the stuff that seems poignant as I've been reflecting as I've been listening. And some of these are like my own life reflections and reflection of this mental space that I'm in. And some of them are lessons that I'm picking from this room. Right? So the first is our question. And the question is, who would you be if you weren't scared of how great you are? it's a really important question because as a community, we are some of the most educated and timid people ever. And it's wild. Like, constantly we go out and we don't start until we have the 85th degree, or until we have the 85th experience. What if we're so scared, right? And what if we just started, right? So who should be so scared to make us? And the second is it's a hard set, right? We always say start small, but start small does not mean start subpar. There is a bar, right? And that bar was this your best effort? And as long as it's your best effort, things will work out, right? Of course your first version is shit. That's fine, you're going to be shit, right? Your 100 will be amazing. But you know how it will never be amazing? If every time you're just like, not quite trying. Then by number 100, you're still not quite trying, you're not getting better, right? So it's okay to start small, but it's never okay to start somewhere. And the third is, it's okay to tailor your life to what you want, right? The example that comes to mind is, when Samuel was speaking earlier, he spoke a lot around discipline, right? Now, I find that especially in our culture, the word discipline either attracts you or repels you, right? It's a very binary term, right? And some people love it, right? They're like, discipline, yeah, you feel very drawn. And some people hear discipline, they're like, I want that, right? It's okay to translate this, right? You can take the word discipline and say consistency. No, it's not. It's the same thing, right? You can take the word discipline and say, how do I keep promises to myself? Same thing, right? Perseverance. Yeah, you can say, how do I repeatedly show up, right? Like, it's the same thing. And in all these things, whenever these principles are coming up and you feel like I have to do a thing, you don't have to do anything at all, right? Just translate it to the way that resonates with you and then do it, right? Because you have to show up. You just have to show up in that like aligns with you. And in that spirit, because this thing is so hard, this entrepreneurship, this doing life well thing, it's all really hard. So you might as well do it in a way that you enjoy, right? Do not pursue opportunity that kills you to do, right? Enjoy it. An example is Mark learns Mandarin. Do you guys know how hard Mandarin is as a language? Like people look at it, like the sounds are different, it's deeply complex. And for years, my father's been telling me, China's going to take over the world, you should learn Mandarin. Like, we're addicted to speech. No, like, I watched one video and I was like, there's no way. I'm learning. And I think it's for a decade ago, you made the same choice, right? That you choose to learn it, right? And now, right? And the other things that I love that have come to me so much more naturally because I followed along, right? Because that thing is hard, you will not do the hard thing unless you love it. So just self-select into races you are going to win because you like that struggle. But do not pick someone else's struggle because you think it's sexy. You'll just fail, right? But if you pick things that you care about, then you can actually give yourself the time to get good at it. You can actually set a bar. You are passionate enough about it so that this wasn't a good attempt. Let me do it again. Let me do it again. And when I publish, when I post, when I speak, when I do whatever that thing is, I know I did my best version of this, and I'll come back and I'll do it again. Right? And the last thing was do hard things. So that you become the sort of person who does hard things. Right? That messaging to yourself is really, really important. Right? And again, I'll just pull from the speakers. I find it insane that you learn to swim to the triathlon. That always seems wrong to me. Right? But it's incredible, right? It's like I have this goal and I have two pieces, right? I can cycle, I can run. I can't swim. But I want to triathlon. So I'm gonna learn to swim. Do hard things. That same ability to say I'm gonna overcome this barrier of swimming to achieve the goal is the exact same thing in I'm gonna build this business. There will be barriers, right? But you will not surmount a big barrier if you never taught yourself that you can surmount them. So for your own goodness, you must wake up and do hard things, right? And we mustn't pat ourselves in the back for we coddle ourselves, right? Congratulations, you read the book, but the book means did you write something? Right? Congrats, I'm not taking away the win on the book, but we're told, the acquisition of knowledge is not power. right? Did you do something with that, right? Coming here is great. Did you write notes? Did you eat? Did you think about it? Right? Like, congratulations on coming, but like, then what? Right? So unless you become the sort of person who does hard things, then it'll be really hard for you to actually do the things that you want to do, right? It'll be really hard for you to become virus. So those are the messages that are kind of sitting with me. Who would you be if you're into greatness? Starting small does not mean that's a bar. Follow your loves so you can hold on them and do hard things.
Okay, hi everyone, my name is Keicia Campbell, and I am the founder and principal at Campbell Financial Associates. We navigate beyond the numbers, so we don't just focus on accounting and crunching the numbers. We want to take you beyond those numbers. So we got started, I guess, out of my love for accounting and entrepreneurship. I tried to steer myself away from accounting because I did it all day, every day. And so I wanted something fun. So I tried to do other things, which I was very successful at, but I realized that I had to work very hard to gain those successes. And at the end of the day, I was building someone else's brand. And so I, in turn, thought that, me with my educated common sense, why am I limiting myself to whatever the organization prescribed would be my remuneration? You know, why not? I will never move beyond that border in terms of their compensation if I work a 9 to 5. And so it's out of that, you call it urge to kind of burst out of that box that Campbell was formed. And in forming Campbell, I had this intergenerational thing in mind. And my firstborn, she's also an accountant. I start with my succession planning from the start. So she's also a director. We work collaboratively. And so that's kind of the genesis of how the organization was formed. One of the common things that I see, especially in our community, I'm here to talk about your accounting and your fundamentals and why it's important. And one of the things that I find is that we tend to wear a lot of hats. So how many hats are you wearing? Are you the expert in the field that you are of business that you're in? Or are you dependent on your grade 10 accounting to do your books, right? Are you then trying to hire for yourself? You're investing for yourself. Sometimes we go 10 miles wide and then 1 mile deep. How about you focus on just 1 mile and go 10 miles deep? You know what I mean? So that's one of the biggest problems that I see with, or biggest issue that I see with our community when it comes down to accounting and finance. So the other thing, other than the many hats, we tend to do accounting and finance for the tax man, right? We don't do it for ourselves. So there are so many different benefits that you can get from just having proper records. So it's there for record keeping. It's there to avoid all of those legal issues when CRA is on your back or all of those regulators are on your back. You have your ducks in a row because you're keeping proper records. Internal and external stakeholders. If you're going in for a loan, they want to see how well you're doing. How do you attract investors? By having proper records show that you are positioned for growth, and you just use the numbers to analyze and charge do I get into beast mode? Do I cruise? Do I get into beast mode? But you use it for decision making that is going to advance you. So those are kind of some of the tips that I have for our community to actually use a sound system in place before, and just focus on what you do. Don't be using your grade 10 accounting to do your books. Last but not least, I'm gonna we don't see the entire staircase all the time before we take the first step. So, I mean, just one foot before the other, and you will eventually get to where you wanna go.
Just to extract from the fact that accounting truly is the language of business. So that's the homework I've learned monitoring. Everyone needs to, at some point, pick up doing accounting and understanding it, not as you said for the tax man, but really understand how to articulate yourself to yourself and others. Truly is. I also asked our AV tech, if you don't mind, at this stage, the QR code for the exit survey. So, as we're having a discussion, feel free to, just scan the exit survey just to let us know how you felt about the event and any opportunities to improve it. So we'll try to put up an exit survey for you. But sorry for that, Mark.
Good morning, Neil Pratt, and I'm from Express Employment Professionals. I'm the franchise owner. We're a recruitment company, and what I'm going to talk about today is the importance of networking and collaboration. Now, I'm going to steal a little bit from Khalil, who talked about the African proverb, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And so as I talk about the tips that I'm going to talk about today, that's the theme that I'd like every one of us to think about. So as we look at networking and collaboration, and I transition to talking a little bit about my journey and how I use that as I come along the way. When I was thinking of getting into business and leaving the corporate world, one of the things that I had to decide on was, as someone who moved to Canada in 2005, did I know the regulatory environment well enough that if I get into business, I'm not going to get myself in trouble with CRA and submitting my HST on time, and all of those regulatory requirements that you have to abide by. And if I didn't know that well enough, then probably I shouldn't try to set up a business on my own. But in order to get the help, I should go the franchise route. So for me, that was a decision. Should I go alone? Should I go the franchise route? And so I decided that I didn't want to get into trouble with CRA or any of the other regulatory organizations. And this really tied into my personality. I don't know how many of you do personality profiles. There's one called DISC. And so DISC, when I did that profile, I came out as, my highest profile was C, which means I'm nerdy. That's what that one means, really. And the other was driven. So CD, that's my personality type. I analyze things, I figure out what my move is going to be, and once I've come to the decision that this is the move to make, I'm like a dog with a bone. Because I'm so driven about it, because I've done my homework and I know where I'm going. So the franchise route was the route that I decided to take. Now, with Express Employment, getting into that employment business, getting into the employment business was just a transition from what I had done before, which is coming from the financial services industry where I was in wealth management sales. Now, why is collaboration important in this field? When we look at some of the most famous and legendary business people, we look at Bill Gates, for example, and we look at where Microsoft is today. Do you know that one of the things that has made Microsoft what it is today is the collaboration between Microsoft and IBM, where that original deal was not to sell the software program to IBM, but to get into a leasing arrangement, so that every computer that's sold, the Microsoft program will be on it. Now, you've got other computer makers. There was IBM, there was Dell, there was HP. All these computer makers are now installing the Microsoft software on it, and it's just being globally sold. A more current example we see is with Google and Android. Now, Android software. And so for many of you who have Samsung phones or phones made by LG, smartphones, they're using Android software. But Android is owned by Google, and it's leased all these other companies. That is another example of collaboration. Now, how am I gonna break that down to my business? So in my business, we do recruitment, and we develop relationships with the companies that are looking for talent. So we've been able to break this down into, when we talk about recruitment, there are companies that we collaborate with. Durham College, where we are here now. Durham College has an employment support subsidiary that's located right here in Oshawa. And they have the Employment Ontario program, which allows them to help members of the community in their job search. It helps with resume writing, and it is government funded. So for those of us in the employment industry, they're like a necessary evil, because it's like they're competing with us. We have government funding, and we're in the private sector. We have to come up with our own capital to fund our business, pay our staff, and we're competing with the government to find jobs for individuals in the community. But the lesson that I learned here is sometimes you have to collaborate with those who you might feel are your competitors if you're going to go far. Now, what I know that we do very well is we can prospect and do business development far more than the team at the Durham College Employment Center. YMCA also has that program, and they're located in Whitby. We know that we can do business development far more than they can do it. So we have the company relationships, we have the jobs, but we might not have all of the talent to fill the jobs. So how do we collaborate with them? We have relationships with them where we do job fairs, and they help to find candidates for us. Now, what is the win-win? The win-win is, for them, they complete their quarterly reports where it shows that they are finding work for a large number of members within the community, and their government funding gets to continue. For us, we're finding the candidates to fill the jobs. So we put them through our screening, so we know that these are candidates of the standard that our clients are looking for, and we also win. So collaborating with those who you might perceive to be your competitors, that is something also to be considered. We also get referrals. Another important tip. When you're in business, you also want to ask for referrals. Those job seekers that come to us, we ask them, who do you know, just like you, that you think might want to work in this company? That way we get additional candidates. Now, the other side of it is on finding clients and networking and collaborating to grow the client network. And for that, I would say look at being involved in networking groups. Sam mentioned this earlier. Sam, myself, and Keicia, we were all a part of BNI, which is a business networking group. And the goal of that group is to find business referrals for other members of the group. So you can get into a group such as that. I'm also a part of the Whitby Chamber of Commerce. I'm also a member of the Rotary Club of Ajax. These are all organizations that can help with networking and collaboration. But we were in 2023, and in 2023, technology is big. So social media is big. Remember your Google profile. That is going to say a lot about your business. For most of us in the room, I imagine if you travel to Quebec and you want to go out somewhere for dinner, one of the first things you're going to do is Google best restaurants in the area, and then based on what Google tells you, that is going to determine your level of interest in going to the restaurants that show up there. Your business is going to be treated the same way. And I can't tell you the number of times we receive calls in our office, and when we go through a screening, and we ask, how did you hear about us? Oh, I saw you on Google. And so that is where a lot of the flow is coming from. Of course, you've got Facebook, you've got LinkedIn, there's Instagram. Those are all tools that you use to promote your business as well. And another big thing, don't forget your team and your business associates that help you to run your business. I treat my employees like they are my customers. I serve them so that they can serve our customers. If they're not well, I am not well. I have to make sure that they're well, and when they are well, I know that my business is in good hands. And Keicia is my accountant. Okay. Keicia is very key to my business. And like she's saying, you want to focus on what your business is. I focus on the employment business. I focus on developing those relationships. I don't want to be bothered by CRA requirements and HST obligations. Keicia ensures that my business is protected in that regard. And you have to build those relationships and have confidence in the people that support you. And then pay them on time. That's also important. You reward them financially for their efforts. And so those are some of the key things in collaboration that I would want to say. But I would say once you do all those things, present yourself as you're doing it as a business professional, not as your race. When I go out and I speak to anyone about employment, I am coming to you as an employment professional. And there are people, I'm not denying it, there are people that will see you as your race when you first start talking to them. But you get into several conversations and you're going to demonstrate your competence, and they will begin to see you as the professional that you're representing yourself to be. And that is the focus that you have to have. And be prepared to operate in different communities. I have co-workers and business associates that are from the Jewish community, that are Asian, that are white, and we are business professionals and colleagues. And once we continue to do all those things, I would say there ain't no stopping us now. McFadden and Whitehead, how many of you know that song? 1979.
We're on the move.
Excellent opening remarks from the panelists. As usual, open it up for anyone who may have a question, but as you're formulating your thoughts, I was listening to a lot of the panelists, again, I saw a common thread through a lot of what everyone was saying there. It seems like I heard different versions of the word collaboration being used, and understanding that you have to work with people in order to really go forward. And working with people, you know to speak that language is something. Being able to show up and react with the people, as you mentioned, Mark. And Moses, you mentioned of always giving your best, no matter what it is. David mentioned you're not just being the best person in your area or your race or community, you're just being the best. And people are going to work with you because you're the best, not because you're the best of a subset. So with that in mind, how does one going on an entrepreneurial journey, what are some tips or tools or tricks or some softwares that they could use to help them be better collaborate with individuals, how can they better work with persons to build that vision and journey? Because a lot of what I'm hearing is it's important, as an African power said, if you want to move fast, move alone, if you want to move further, you have to work together. And I think that's where everyone is in our community. Everyone has a small business, but how do we really start to push that envelope and to really have a collaborative spirit? How do we not see myself as a CEO? Why can I not invest in someone else's business? Why do they have to always be a front seat? Can I play a supporting role? And playing a supporting role give you more about working with you and us individually, working in our businesses. So any thoughts on the ways we could be more collaborative, have a collaborative spirit?
That's a deep question. I think, first of all, it's in our psyche, and is it on there? First of all, it's in our psyche. I'm also involved in diversity, equity, and inclusion work with Express Employment, and in fact, I'm the chair of the council for Express Employment. Express is a global company, the largest privately owned recruitment company in North America with over 850 offices in US, Canada, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. And so the council is to establish a DEI strategy for North America. And so since I've been involved in that, I've really been internalizing the way we interact with each other within our community. One of my observations is we discount each other's talent. And we have to be able to look at another Black person and give them credit for the professional they're presenting themselves to be. And so I make a deliberate effort to engage professionals that are Black. I make a deliberate effort when job seekers come to our office to, of course, we're trying to find jobs for everyone in the community, but you have to know, we all belong somewhere, and I belong to the Black race, and I have a vested interest in the advancement of the Black race. So when candidates are struggling, if they happen to be Black, I'm curious. I want to know, and I feel like I can speak to members of the Black community in a more candid way than I can speak to members of other communities. So I have more personal one-on-one conversations with job seekers. But I can tell you, as I meet decision makers around the Durham region, I get more opportunities from decision makers to establish relationships with those companies from non-Black decision makers than I get from Black decision makers. I get more resistance, I get more hesitation when I'm dealing with Black decision makers. And you know, as in navigating the corporate world as well, there seems to be this psyche where, and this is an external force that I've experienced, where in the corporate world I would be at my desk on my floor, and another Black person would come and see me, and my coworkers we suddenly become the spectacle. My coworkers would be looking at us like, what is the deal here? What are these Black people doing? And they will make us feel conscious of what we're doing. And we're also famous for having the Black Halo, right? All of you know the Black Halo. It seems like somehow we can't pass each other in the street. We might be strangers, but when we pass on the street, we gotta be enough. Yeah. Right? And so my white coworkers and coworkers of other races would ask me, what's the deal? Do all you Black people know each other? It's just the way we roll. But we get the external pressure and it makes us feel conscious about doing it. And so I've come to the stage where I've just said, F it. I like Black people, I am Black, I want to help the Black race. I don't care about the external pressures that are coming. But it is there. And we have to get away from being proud of being the first person to do something, or being the only person that is doing something, and putting it out there like it's a badge of honor. We have to get into the mindset where we are opening floodgates. I've seen members of the Asian community and other communities, when they get into a department in the corporate world, when they get into a position of influence, one comes in and in short order, you see more joining. With us, we tend to stay in small numbers for extended periods of time. We tend to give in to that external force and we don't open the floodgates. We have to say after and open the floodgates.
I'm gonna touch on a couple of things that Neil said. Well, the first one being, we need to get out of the habit of haggling with each other. So, I know that you are a professional marketer. This is what the marketing is. I'm in business, I'm in your service, I hire your services. We are not having other people. So just pay what they deserve. Right, so that's one thing that I want to touch on. But I'm also going to attest that if we are the first in an organization or the first of a little bit in an organization, we have the opportunity to create an ecosystem. So Canada's is built on small businesses ecosystem in general. You have different communities, and so we are kind of at the bottom in terms of our cohesiveness or synergy or ability to move forward as a group. So if we can open doors for others, then we should. And that's really carrying the entire community with you. I can attest that we're a part of an organization and they'll have one conversation with them. And he's like, okay, my wheels are turning right now. How can we get funding for this organization? From the organization that we're a part of. So right away, I can attest that we are there and we are seeking to actually bring legally along, right? So you asked about how do we collaborate. Similarly to how we and I operate, we may have 30 people in a room every week, and there is no overlap. And so I'm going out there, and if I see someone that needs employment, I'm going to say, there's your guy. If I see someone that needs insurance, that's your guy, right? So we should be out there as a community to actually doing that collaboration to actually advance not only my business or our business, but the entire.
Before you start, I'll just say we recently put the QR code for the exit survey, so between now and exit, feel free to just snap it, take a picture, and fill it out Google form exit survey. It will really help us further refine this event to learn a little bit more how we can make this even better.
A couple thoughts came up with the question of collaboration, right? The first is why you? Right? So you want people to collaborate with you, but why? Why should they? Right? What have you done in your own space, in your craft, to then make collaboration feel a great thing to do? Right? An example that comes to mind is I would love to be an Olympic gold medalist. Like I would truly love it. It would be amazing.
Still possible.
Sure, I'm going to some limitation. And the team I'd love to be a gold medalist in is the sprints, right? The relay. You know who's not going to give me the job? The Jamaica team. It's not happening, right? You say gold to the Olympic and you're like, look, bro. There's a time to reach, and let's reach this time, it doesn't work, right? So similarly, when you want to collaborate with people, what have you done to develop excellence in yourself to then be able to say, let's collaborate? Is a really important question. We must constantly be like doing that piece. The second is, how are we actively choosing to collaborate, right? I think you said it in different ways. Are we choosing to build collaborations that also support Black businesses or other communities that you care about? Like we have conscious choice. We because these things don't just happen in magic, right? So if you're, we sometimes look at questions like diversity and inclusion and we treat them like these very complex things, right? If you want to hire more women in your company, just hire more women. It's not rocket science. If you want to, work with more business of color, just do it. Just make it one of your requirements. It's not rocket science, just do it, right? And even there is the same requirement, right? Like if you want to build more collaboration in business, as you're searching for business collaborators, make sure you're consciously choosing that thing. And the third thing is, I think we all have spaces where we know we're bringing commensurate and equal value, right? And that's most long-term sustainable collaborations, partnerships look and feel like that, right? This adds value to me, this can add value to you, great, right? But we also have spaces that we're in, and we know it's by the grace of someone else. Someone has pulled you into this room, someone has pulled you into this meeting, right? So someone's expecting like extended their goodwill to you, someone's extended their cash to you, right? In those places, like someone's helping you, so how are you turning around and helping someone else? Right? Because that's how you create that chain, right? Like goodwill wasn't poured into you before you see you, right? It was poured into you to increase your capacity, then pour into someone else. And we must constantly be asking that question as we build our collaborations. Else we will end up with people who make it and then people who don't. When we all have made it, right? And we could all make it if we keep pouring in each other, right? And then that way, it's just like a good thing to do. And two, it's also just a sustainable thing to do. Because the more everyone else thrives, the more we all thrive, right? The more people that have to buy from the business, the more people there who can create more employment, you see. So this helps us, but we have to make that choice to A, be conscious of what we pour into, and B, pour into as well.
Wow. Collaboration. When our venture got started last year, we had pivoted from being an agri-tech company to serving the commercial trucking industry. And when I was finishing my undergrad at Ryerson at TMU, I realized that I was preparing for this journey long before, almost 20 years prior, because that was my dream. But I realized that I should not do this alone. One of the lessons I've come to learn is surround yourself with people a hell of a lot smarter than you are, because it's easier. And when, thanks to the DMZ startup incubator, I was awarded $10,000 through the Black Innovators Program, and then $5,000 through the DMZ Ventures in exchange of 2.5% equity. So you have to understand the accounting and the numbers and why it makes sense. And with $15,000 total, we were able to validate our technology solution and get a provisional patent in November and December that same year, from August to December. That's what we did. So, when you think about collaboration, if it wasn't for the DMZ, we wouldn't have gotten that far to begin with. And I worked every single day from August to November. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they saw me there with my engineer, and we were working. With a few exceptions, of course, but I was there at least one day of the weekend for those exceptions. People observe your behavior and your attitude, how you communicate with other founders in the DMZ incubator space, and what you say, and being a good sponge, just to listen. Sometimes you just want you to listen to them. That's collaboration. And that reputation that we created through collaborating with the DMZ got us into Venture Labs Harvard Catalyst Initiative for the Automobility Stream. We're now in the 2-year program. We got into Mars Discovery District for Supply AI as well. And I couldn't have done it without that really great start, that opportunity, that asymmetry of saying we're going to bet on Black founders, Black innovators, especially someone like me who's doing technology, who's doing artificial intelligence. You don't see people people like me doing AI. Period. I don't see it. And when ChatGPT came out, you saw not one person of color on the YouTube list of everyone talking about ChatGPT. Not one. And I pointed out to people. And I wanted to make it obviously clear that representation does matter in order to collaborate. And you have to put in some kind of asymmetry into your evidence-based data set so you can skew the outcomes to what you really want. Because AI is not fair, and it does not represent everybody because the data is heavily biased to begin with in the first place. And I tell people that all the time. People have left places like Google in protest because they're saying, well, I'm a researcher, and this is what the evidence says, and they don't want to fix it. Because they want to serve some people, but not all people. So, it is a deliberate, conscious decision who you choose to collaborate with, why you choose to collaborate with them, how you're going to collaborate with them, and if it's not going well, ask the question, what can I do to make it better? It's really, 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 really important. I hate being the only one all the time, doing the only thing. It's lonely. I want it to change. And I'll do what I can in my capacity, power, and control to improve equality of opportunity as well as equality of outcomes so everybody can participate in the future of everything, which is driven by data and the models that are created from that data, which is called artificial intelligence. Because it's here now. It's going to be in every aspect of life, society as you know it, as you've yet to even see it. It's going to be in the world of the very small. It's going to be in the world of the very big. It's going to teach you things. It's going to educate you. It's going to replace human cognition. That is what AI is all about. Is to replace your mind. It is the most powerful technology on the face of the earth. And believe you me, people are going to war for that stuff between China and the US right now. It's happening. World War III has already been here. You just don't see bullets and cannons firing yet.
Yeah.
But it is here. Knowing Mandarin Chinese and seeing and studying and watching China and watching America and watching foreign policy, it's a big deal. This is the biggest thing that's happened to humanity since the invention of the atomic bomb. And I hope that we will all be able to participate as people of color, of people of all races, to be benefited by artificial intelligence. I sincerely mean that. And that's my take on collaboration.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate that. Before we go back to the audience, here, let's have one other remark.
So one other thing that I'm a big part of is in the Rotary Club of Ajax. I'm one of the directors, and one of my roles is to find charitable organizations that we can support. So the Rotary Club, what we do is we get involved in community activities, so we will do things like cleanup and such things, but a bigger part of what we do is we raise funds and then we would transfer those funds to various charitable organizations within our towns. And so I'm on the hunt for charitable organizations in the Durham region that are geared to helping the Black community and Black causes. So if any of you in the room know of those organizations, I'd like to develop a relationship with them and see how we can get them funding through the Rotary Club of Ajax.
So before we open up the Q&A, I just want to let everyone know the QR code is up there. Please encourage everyone to take the survey. Please, we're asking everyone to do it. Special prize for one person who would fill that survey.